What's up, Thrive Nation? It's Dr. Tiana here. If you are new to our community, welcome. I'm so glad that you found us. I'm Dr. Tiana. I'm a coach, mentor, and life strategist helping high impact women overcome life disruptions, increase their resilience, and strengthen their walk with God. And so today, you have joined us for our weekly show, Thrive Nation Inspiration. And I want to share with you today 3 steps that you would need to take if you are faced with a life disruption. The first 3 things that you need to do, right? If you are encountering this. And a life disruption for us could be anything. It can be some of our women in our community are experiencing job loss, child loss, pregnancy loss, a diagnosis of some sort. They may be experiencing a divorce or some sort of loss in their family, maybe a strained relationship that has caused a disruption. Anything that kind of shakes things up and makes you question maybe the choices that led to that point, or make you confused and unsure about what your next step should be, right? And so here at Mended Hope, we support you in making sure that you can gain some clarity around where you are, gain some clarity around your next steps, get courage and confidence to move forward, full of faith, and to minimize the fear that you may be experiencing, because oftentimes life disruptions are painful, right? And so that actually leads into the 3 things or 3 steps that you would need to take if you are experiencing a life disruption. So the number 1 thing is to acknowledge your pain. Okay, so I know that high impact women, specifically, I see this so much with Black women. I have seen it in myself at times where, we don't slow down enough. We don't take the time to be introspective and reflective enough to recognize that this disruption is causing us pain or discomfort or distress. And so we often try to continue to move forward because we got things to do, right? And oftentimes we may be rushed to conclusions, rushed to decisions. And sometimes we just flat out ignore it and stuff it down and act like it didn't happen, right? And when you do that, the distress that comes with that, it stays stored in your body. It goes somewhere, right? So you can, in your mind, feel like, oh, I'm blocking that out. I ain't got time for that. How many times have you said that? However, the body keeps the score. And so it will show up at some point or time. It will show up. And oftentimes, based on science, it shows up as illness. It shows up in the form of a lack of health. So headaches, it can show up as ulcers. It can show up as bowel issues. Sometimes it shows up as cancer. So, your body has a way of communicating to you when there are things that are there that need to be resolved. Okay. So the number 1 thing is to acknowledge your pain. Okay. And know that you can get through it, right? Pain is only temporary. And as a matter of fact, okay, because I'm a researcher, I always have to have the facts. Okay. So scientifically, when you feel an emotion, even if it is pain or if it's something else, right? Physiologically, so in your body, your senses, that feeling only lasts for 90 seconds. Okay? 90 seconds. So that means that much of our experiences that happen after that initial feeling, right, are a result of our inability or our ability to cope and manage those feelings. So if you are a person who has great coping skills, have great resources and tools and strategies to help you process through hard emotions, then your suffering is minimized, right? You can't always control what's happening. We don't have control over life disruptions. However, if you are equipped and you have those tools and those resources, you can minimize the suffering that you experience despite it causing pain or distress. Okay, so enough of the science, okay? We're gonna get back to the 3 things that you can do immediately, or 3 things that you should do immediately following a life disruption. So again, number 1 is acknowledging your pain. Number 2 is seeking support or wise counsel. Now, this is extremely critical, and as a high impact woman, I know you're probably thinking, I've made it this far by myself. I don't need nobody. Or you may be on the other side of, no one's ever been there for me, and why should I expect that to happen now, right? And I will tell you that you are not created to do life alone, and you're absolutely not created to do life disruptions or hardships or go through pain alone, because suffering is universal and we all experience pain at some point in our lives. And when you find yourself in that situation, you have to know that there are other people who can help identify with that pain, and that will help you see the beauty in the other side. They will help you gain perspective on your situation. They will speak wisdom into your situation. They will help you not make decisions that you will later regret. And the Bible tells us there's safety in a multitude of counsel. And so it's not an issue of should you, it's an issue of, are you? Do you have that wise counsel? Do you have that circle of support? Are you actively seeking that in your life? And if you don't have that, then that's okay. Pray and ask God to send those people into your life, because many a times we don't just organically develop those things. Those type of relationships take effort, take intentionality, and many a times they're not the people who we expect them to be. Okay, so if you're expecting your childhood friend or your sibling or your parent or whoever to be that role for you, release them from that expectation and figure out who you actually need to be in that space with you and to help hold space for you to process through this life disruption. Okay, so that's point number 2, seeking support or wise counsel. You do not want to be wise in your own eyes, as the Bible says, and be a fool or make decisions that don't align with your values and your goals. And that is easy to do when you're in pain. And when you're not acknowledging the pain, going back to number 1, it's much easier to make decisions that you will later regret. So let's recap. So number 1 is acknowledging the pain. Number 2, seeking support or wise counsel. And then number 3 is much easier said than done. Number 3 is be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. Be patient and give extra doses of grace, extra doses of love to yourself during a life disruption, because change is difficult, right? Like, even though we know that whole cliche, right? The only thing that's predictable in life is change, right? We know that. However, it does not take away the sting of our lives being disrupted. Like, I don't know about you, but I've never had a disruption that was pleasant or that felt good or gave me the warm and fuzzies. Like, usually, even if I am able to manage it or accept it, oftentimes it still comes with a little sting. And there is sometimes a little bit of grief, that goes into that acceptance that things are different and things are shifting and that my life is not going to ever be the same, right? And so as you acknowledge that, as you get people around you to support you, you want to make sure that you're just being patient and recognize that time is always on your side. And as a high impact woman, you might feel like, well, I have things to do, or I have this agenda, or I've set up this plan for my life and I need to push it forward, right? But recognize that disruption is often an invitation for you to get in better alignment. And so you can't do that if you're not acknowledging your pain, if you're not supported, and you're not being patient with yourself or the process. So that is all that I have for you all this week. And as with all of our content, just know that if you are not doing these 3 things, if you have not done these 3 things when you've experienced a life disruption, know that it's not too late to do it different. And also know that this is not about guilt or shame. This is simply about figuring out what is the most healthy way for you to cope and thrive through life disruption, and figuring out how far off you are from where you really desire to be, right? So it's about just taking a look at things, figuring out, okay, like maybe I want to adjust this, or maybe I need to shift this, or maybe I need to change my support circle, or change my, the folks who are speaking wisdom into my life, right? So it doesn't have to be everything, but you can start making some small changes to help you really rebound and to, feel more rooted and grounded as you work through a life disruption, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Life disruptions happen to all of us. And again, it's about your perspective. It's about the choices that you make. And at Mended Hope, it's important to us that you make decisions that you don't later regret. It's important that you make decisions that are full of faith and that are not rooted in fear. And we want you to move forward in courage. And so that is extremely important to us. And so I hope that you take these tidbits, these three tips on how to overcome and move through life disruption. And if you feel like you need some support, some more encouragement, you can go to our website, mendedhope.org, and you can click halfway down the page, you can click Start Here, and that will get you connected to our team if you feel like you need some more support around this topic, okay? So I love y'all, and I hope that you have an amazing rest of the week. If you have questions or if this resonates with you, make sure to comment and like and share the content so that we can be more visible on all of our social media platforms.